During Battlefield 6 open beta, we mostly played on pretty small maps for Battlefield standards. Most of them are pretty solid maps, but it left many players wanting for huge, large Battlefield maps that the franchise is known for. Many of those maps have today been leaked and images of them has been shown, and I have to admit guys, some of these maps look completely impressive to me. Mix of Battlefield 1 and Battlefield 4 if I had to put them together. Today in this video I'm gonna break down the two maps that were leaked, show screenshots of those maps and compare them in size to other Battlefield 6 maps. If you guys are planning to play Battlefield 6 and you want to have real opinions from a real Battlefield franchise veteran, I'm your guy. Consider leaving a like, comment and a subscription for future content. I'm gonna open up with Mirage Valley. It looks like a blend of St. Quentin's car and Battlefield 3's version of Gulf of Oman. On the foreground we have this mud road, charred trees and the destroyed vehicle, everything's on fire, and at the background we have the crane and the skyscraper which look to be like something from Gulf of Oman. I love the blend of colors on this map, it looks very immersive, and this Battlefield 1 grit and vibe that I'm getting from this map really reminds me of St. Quentin's car. How do you feel about this first screenshot? What does the map remind you of? I heard some people telling me it looks like Altai Range, but Altai Range didn't really have this mud roads and these charred trees as an immersive factor. It mostly had buildings and dirt roads, but it didn't look like this. On the other hand, in this screenshot, Mirage Valley appears to look like Monte Grappa to me. I'm not sure why the weather is different, perhaps this screenshot was taken from the other side of the map, or maybe in this version of the game there are weather effects enabled which we didn't have during the open beta, where the weather was mostly static. Still, I love the blend of colors, I love the realistic vibe that this map is producing. In this 3D render of the map, we can maybe guess how it's gonna play gameplay-wise. We can see that the cover is rather scarce, and I'm assuming most of these buildings are gonna be destroyed with a huge Battlefield 6 destruction. So I'm gonna predict that this map is probably gonna be very good for vehicles, just how St. Quentin's car was. Mirage Valley appears to be one of the largest maps in Battlefield 6. If we compare it to the maps we played during the Battlefield 6 open beta, Siege of Cairo, Empire State, Liberation Peak, and Iberian Offensive, we can take all those maps and put them in Mirage Valley and we're still gonna have some empty spots here and there. This is very good news if you really enjoyed big maps in older Battlefield games. It's such a shame we didn't get to play this map during the open beta. I would have loved to record some tank gameplay on maps like these. Let's hope that Mirage Valley is gonna be balanced and it's gonna have very good map flow. But so far, first impressions, just from these data mined screenshots and the 3D render, I'm very impressed. Our next map, New Sobek City, is no slouch either. Perfect for Battlefield 3 fans of Back to Karkan DLC. Look at this thing, the desert setting, the scaffolds, the pyramids in the back, the sandstorm, it looks fantastic. Again, it looks to be like a good map for vehicles and infantry, just as Gulf of Oman was. You couldn't just farm with helicopter in Gulf of Oman because infantry had a lot of cover on Echo and F flags. I like the design of maps like Gulf of Oman, and it seems New Sobek City is gonna follow that exact design. Very good for all the Battlefield fans, also looking very forward to get my hands on this map. Here is another angle of the map I'm gonna predict right now. This area on Conquest or Sector in Breakthrough is gonna be where all the infantry is gonna be fighting at. And it looks really fun. They also added these wooden towers at the back of the scaffolds that look also pretty solid. I'm guessing this is where all the snipers are gonna sit at. Overall, the map looks Battlefield as Battlefield gets in my opinion. This 3D rendered image offers us a more zoomed out view of New Sobek City, and we can definitely see that they followed the design of the middle areas of Gulf of Oman and basically just made a map from that philosophy. And I freaking love it. I think the beach was probably the most boring part of Gulf of Oman, but they centered everything here around those middle points. And I love it. We can see that the map has plenty of cover as well, maybe even more than the middle points of Gulf of Oman. How do you feel about New Sobek City? Do you prefer it over Mirage Valley, or is Mirage Valley more your vibe? In size comparison, New Sobek City appears to be twice the size of Liberation Peak, which was of course the biggest map during the Battlefield 6 open beta. Compared to the other two big maps, Badlands on the left, Eastwood and Mirage Valley, it definitely appears to be smaller than all of those three maps, and it's probably gonna be smaller than Firestorm 2. In fact, if you look at the screenshot at the bottom right, we can see Aras from Battlefield 5, and it's gonna have that type of design. Since now we know the size of the maps, which will be available during Battlefield 6 launch, let's compare how much large maps we have in comparison to the small maps. Large maps, Mirage Valley, the Badlands, New Sobek City, Eastwood, and Operation Firestorm 2025, so 5 large maps, and then we have the small maps, Liberation Peak, Siege of Cairo, Iberian Offensive, and Empire State I would qualify as small maps. Even Liberation Peak is pretty small in my opinion. That's 4 small maps. So we have 5 big maps, battlefield type of maps, and then we have 4 smaller maps. And honestly, I think this is a perfect balance. It's about 50-50. If we take Operation Firestorm out, which is basically a remake, we have here 4 original huge maps, and then we have 4 original small maps. I think everybody here, every player, can find something he likes in this selection of maps. It looks great. So we are getting 9 maps with multiple game modes offered to play on those maps. When you have that many maps available on launch, you also have to make sure that all those game modes are floating nicely on those maps. So for example, when we got Rush during the open beta week 2, Rush in my opinion kinda sucked and it wasn't very good and it was worse than Breakthrough in almost all aspects on those maps. It's almost like Rush was just kinda tacked on and wasn't fully developed to be ready to be played on most of those maps. So I'm saying here, if Rush for example, I'm just mentioning Rush because Rush was the main culprit in open beta week 2, if Rush isn't ready to be played on New Sobek City for example, or Mirak Valley, don't put it in immediately just for the sake of putting it in. Make sure Rush works well on all the maps you're offering in the game, or Breakthrough or Conquest, or whichever mode doesn't feel good on those maps. You can, in my opinion, just delay them and offer them later when you have them refined, rather than offering a half-assed experience, in my humble opinion. For me personally, I'm very happy with the 50-50 split between the large and the small maps. During the beta, I would say that either Iberian Offensive or Siege of Cairo were my favorite maps, though I didn't mind playing Liberation Peak in a vehicle. That map is really made for vehicles, as I'm playing in a tank this whole video. The other maps I will queue when I'm feeling for playing infantry. Infantry, however, on Liberation Peak is definitely very painful to play because of the very huge amount of snipers and campers in the hills and the glitchers who go up on the mountain on my right here. It just becomes super annoying to play. I'm hoping for the other maps that are coming now that they're going to consider that they don't have these glitches available in all of them. I don't want to see another Siege of Cairo rooftop on Mirak Valley, and I don't want to see another mountain on Sobek City or whatever, you know? All these glitches need to be fixed before launch rather than fixed them later. Because if you remember during the open beta, the Siege of Cairo experience definitely ruined week 2 in my experience and also affected the player numbers too. Battlefield 6 open beta week 1 had 20 million players, but there was definitely a noticeable drop because of, you know, the rush being kind of shitty and also the bugs not being fixed with the exploits on the mountains and the rooftops. So I truly don't want to see those things when the game comes out because it just leaves a bad taste and kind of this unprofessional behavior when you don't have those things fleshed out for launch. I'm not expecting everything to run perfect, of course, I'm just being realistic here, but these critical things like adding block meshes on top of rooftops or some hills need to be there from day one. And if they aren't, then you have to hotfix the game as soon as possible to add them. For example, recently, just 2 days ago, they had this master key bug in Battlefield 2042. It got hotfixed in 1 day. It got me thinking, how come they didn't hotfix the open beta rooftop glitch like immediately? You know, they didn't do it then, I guess they couldn't do it, but for launch, I don't want there to be any of that. No excuses for launch. Fix those things and make sure that the maps look and run smoothly and don't have any exploits on them. With that being said, guys, if you enjoyed watching this video, then consider leaving a like and a comment. I really appreciate you watching every video I do. It's been pretty hard making videos over the last couple of days because it is just so hot in Germany and I cannot record videos with the AC being on. So I'm recording this in absolute blazing heat. So I apologize if you hear some rumbling or some stuttering here and there. It's just extremely hot recording videos in this weather. I just want that there's no noise when I'm recording. So this is why the AC isn't on. So leave me a like because I was melting recording this for you. Take it easy and I'll see you in another video. Bye bye.